Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger. With me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
No, my name's Trent.
And I am Vic, the true crime podcaster. Welcome to True Crime Podcasts with Vic, not the victim. Wait, no, that's the other podcast we're on this week. This is a upfront plug for our episode of Know What You're In For with disgraced prison warden Anthony B. Watts. We did a fun improv podcast with a friend of ours. We just recorded that last night, and that should be coming out around about last week or this week. I don't know. Soon.
It was last week. Yes. Yeah, that friend was Alex Krause, who was on last week's episode.
Yes. Of course, yes.
So you know our friend.
If you've been listening, then you know.
Yes. If you haven't listened, go listen to episode 195. It was awesome.
Yeah. But today, I think we shall do some ramped up click pitch. Trevor, give us the spiel.
Ben and I have a Discord bot, and on the count of 3 to 1, enter. We're going to type exclamation point C into a Discord bot. No, we're gonna click refresh and get our words, throw them at each other. We're going to get an adjective and a noun. 4 words, game design.
4 words, one game design.
Yeah.
That famous video.
That very famous video.
All right, let's do it.
3, 2, 1, click.
Mm-hmm. Traced arrest.
Tracked scrap.
Tracked and traced.
Mm.
So it's a shipping... some sort of shipping simulation. Okay. What was your second word? Tracked what?
Scrap. So
Tracked scrap.
Scrap metal.
Scrap, yep, and traced arrest. Okay.
So I've been watching a lot of streams at the moment of a game called Among Us.
Yep.
And so straight away I'm sort of seeing this as almost like a co-op multiplayer game where you're all trying to like collect the most valuable scrap metal in like different random maps sort of thing. Kind of like a procedurally generated map, but obviously you're looking for the best scrap metal, but you can also like knock each other down and steal scrap metal from each other.
All right, just to sort of raise the stakes a little bit, what if you yourselves are robots and thus you can scavenge scrap metal from each other as you like knock them down? And so maybe you've got tools where like you can't just like knock them over and take their whole chassis or whatever, but if you knock someone out for 3 seconds, then you'll get X amounts of scrap from them or whatever, and it may be that you have to either decide to hoard the scrap or build tools out of it or literally improve your own body, but at which point you can be, you may lose that to attacks.
Yeah. So I think in going with the Among Us theme, though, I think there's a couple of people in there who are tasked with like collecting as much of it as possible and they'll turn a bigger profit or something like that.
Right, because so Among Us is one of these like there's a trader in the midst. There's a
or someone, if you've got enough people, then you get 2 traders.
A hidden role essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. What if this is because the tracing and the tracking kind of thing makes me think of like, I don't know, maybe hunting people down as well.
Yeah. So maybe an investigator sort of thing whose idea is to work out, who's got the irradiated metal or something like that. Yeah,
well, there could be ways to either... Or I'm even thinking things like if you damage someone, then like for 10 seconds or something, they'll drop little bits of scrap or something behind them. And so, if someone is outed as the intruder and goes on the attack but then tries to run, like you can be tracking them down or something, and maybe there are mechanics where they can disguise themselves or whatever to try to essentially lose the heat.
Yeah. Yeah,
that could be cool. And then I think it'd be cool. Okay, what would be interesting, actually, just to go away from just a, skinned version of something like Among Us or the
Project
other one,
Winter.
Project Winter. What if this is sort of over a longer period where it's almost a mix between like a Minecraft-esque building game and this intruder sort of thing. So this might be a days or weeks long campaign where you get teamed up with a group of people and you can kind of build up your base. And I don't know if you're against another base or if it's just sort of, all right, we're competing in this, 3-week long season or whatever to be the base that gets the most scrap, right? You've collected the most scrap, and it's all about kind of, maybe you're building mining things, maybe you're building, automation stuff so that you can essentially mine out and track down all the metal in this area. But yes, you have one or two people who their goal is different, and then that does add a bit more of the like, oh, I logged in and someone had sabotaged our, main power source, but you've got ways to like trace or track who that was with, we need to build a spectrum analyzer to like measure the power signature that's still, that was captured or whatever. And then
you could
and then
be
it's like
tracking serial numbers of like components and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like down to that level. And so it's a bit more of a really ongoing thing where you start to either, you might be playing with friends, but you might just be playing with strangers, but you get to know like how they're interacting with the game, and the suspicion is not just over the course of like a 30-minute game, it's over the course of like 3 weeks, multiple sessions. You're not required to log in every day, but
there's enough to do each time that you.
There's enough to do that if people are coming online, then they can be doing stuff and helping out and doing things for that season essentially, or that period.
Yeah. How many people are you sort of picturing that you're partnered up with? Because you don't want the casual person coming in and then never turning up again, sort of thing.
Yeah, look, I mean, there would have to be techniques to kind of really get people invested enough in it, and maybe it just comes down to, like, this is some sort of ranked game that if you don't log in enough or don't participate enough, then you're going to lose points and that sort of thing. I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe six people.
Okay.
I was thinking side, or
more around the 30 odd on a server.
I feel like you want to have it small enough that you can easily kind of not get to know people necessarily, but like fit it in your head all the people who you have to sort of consider might be the intruder.
Yeah.
And I think there's the classic thing of like, we can, remember 7 plus or minus 2 things or something and keep them in our head at one time. So I think you'd want to do a max of 7 or 8. Because then, it's like, okay, we've got this small team and you sort of plan it out, and it's maybe, you could even have like, because I'm really, I'm sort of thinking of this as a bit of like a Satisfactory or Factorio or Minecrafty sort of thing where you can set up some of this automation and stuff so that it's going while you're not logged in. It's like, all right, first day, let's just make sure that, when we log in tomorrow night, we've got a ton of coal and a ton of raw ore or whatever, and then we're going to have all the materials we need to sort of build the next phase to start, clearing out this section. And you can maybe have some cool, like, again, if it's sort of this robot-based thing, it's like robots building robots and stuff, so you might have a rich vein of iron ore or whatever, and you can essentially, if you've got the right materials and skill, like program a robot to overnight just clear that out and bring it all back and put it in a hopper or whatever.
But make sure that you've actually programmed them properly, because the last thing you want to do is come back and they've been going out and like cutting down part of the forest, but it turns out that they came across like a cave with a bear in it, and they mistook like the legs for tree trunks, and now there's just blood all in your
you never get that out. Exactly. But this is, and this also gives more opportunity then for sabotage for the intruder. Like, maybe they come back half an hour after everyone's logged out and change one line of code. And that means that, like, all of that stuff you're expecting to happen overnight doesn't happen. But
instead of gold, it's looking for mold, and you come back and it's just like,
exactly.
All they could change is that one letter, but that totally screwed you out of being able to do what you need to do the next day. So now,
now you're a day behind,
and you can track who it was from the comments that get automatically logged by the robot.
Well, again, you don't want to make it too easy, but maybe yes, but maybe you can't. You know, you don't want to make it too easy on either side. You don't want someone to just be able to come in and
convert all the gold into.
Well, and modify code without any chance of being caught, but you also don't want it just that it tracks literally who changed what character, and you can just check that and know. So either there needs to be ways
that it gives you like
to cover
an IP
their tracks.
Address. Gives you an IP address, and then you got to track that back. And then if they happen to use like a, you know, some sort of spoofer that you know puts it off into another.
Assuming you're saying this is in game though.
In game, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's what I mean. You need to give them tools to manage that, and that could be really cool too. So it's like, you don't want to go in and just change the code because they might have. But again, it's an interesting balance because you could have it that you don't know if they're able to check the code lines because maybe they haven't bought that upgrade to their like terminal system or whatever because everything costs scrap and they spent it on other things. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you don't have the scrap to check, so you need to just take your chances that because you also can't afford the spoofing tool or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to take my chances that they haven't installed that because they chose something else, and I'm going to change this.
They didn't install the keylogger.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of cutting down wood, it went and shoot all the sheep for wool.
Because you again changed that one letter.
Well, maybe it costs. Maybe it costs you scrap again for every character change. Like it's they're punch cards or something, so it's expensive to like redo them or time consuming to replace them or something. So as much the fewer characters you can change in the program, the cheaper it will be. So it's like what's the most damage you can do with changing the least characters? You know, you just flip a greater than or equal than, so it's just like, I've got, you know, less than 20 things of iron. I've got 0, so I'm going to do nothing.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah.
Confidential sanity.
Committed probability.
Ooh. These words are kind of going together tonight.
Yeah. Okay. This is some sort of uber capitalist company that you work in where like the sanity of the employees is essentially a resource to be managed. Mm-hmm. Because we're talking how hard can you work them before they snap and are now useless to you and may even, you know, take out other workers in the meantime who you've spent a lot of money in training up and, you know, giving the skills to provide value to your company.
This is hitting a little bit close to home with the way that a lot of corporations actually work. Yes.
I mean, it would absolutely have to be satirical. But this is the way they think.
Okay, so it's the officers of Bod Chaser.
Yeah, Bod Chaser, that you know, hunt down freaking sexy women app that is making so many millions of dollars amongst all the skeezy assholes out there.
Okay, I like your idea, but what were your words again?
Committed probability.
Probability. Okay, so I kind of, if you remember, what was that Requiem game with the sanity things from the GameCube?
Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness. That's right.
It was something Requiem, I think.
Yeah. I think it was anyway. I think I like that idea of like a sanity mechanic in the game. And you're sort of playing around with once you choose, like once you're committed to an action, you're basically you're spending sanity on that. So
you're taking committed in that direction.
Yeah, so you rather than it being in like a mental institution or committed there, I think it's sort of like one of those psychological horror games in that you sort of lock in what you want to actually do, like mission-wise, and then that is going to cost you some sort of sanity cost that doesn't necessarily come out straight away.
Okay, here we go. Do you remember this? Maybe this is one of those simultaneous execution games, like that Frozen Synapse that you and I played that one time, like once. But also, like,
I think I did 2 turns, and that was about it.
By which I mean the people on either side, and this is either the people on either side or it's just that the player goes and then the enemy moves at the same time. But you essentially commit your actions. It's like, okay, I've got X amount of action points. Here are the things I'm going to do. And you are having to somewhat predict what the enemy's going to do. But this is a world where there are, like, eldritch horrors.
Yep.
That if you see, they will sap your sanity. Mm-hmm. And so part of the things you need to do is like,
protect your mind against that.
Close your eyes. Like, it might be that you're like, okay, I've got 10 action points. There's a corner coming up. I heard something there. I'm going to walk forward 2 places. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to walk forward another 6 paces and then open my eyes again and then, like, pull my weapon out or something. Or maybe you even, like, in the middle. So essentially you're doing some things blind that you're not going to see the results of. Like, maybe you get sounds or you get feedback, obviously, as it's happening. But I think literally the player, when you close your eyes as part of an action, you don't see what's happening. you lose your, sight. Or maybe you just get, like, sort of blurry, because I'm sort of picturing as like a isometric or it's because it's sort of a tactics. Yeah, sort of a tactics sort of thing. But yeah, the tactics come from not losing your sanity to seeing and experiencing these otherworldly things. So how many
action points does closing your eyes and opening your eyes actually take? Is that 1 action point to close your eyes and 1 action point to open it? Or is it it
might be a free it might be a free action even. Unless you're like in the thrall of something, in which case it's going to take 7, or maybe there are reasons where closing your eyes might be more difficult. But it's more about having to do these blind actions that you're committing to ahead of time. So yeah, you're going to say, I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to walk out here, turn to the right, fire my gun 3 times, walk back over here where I'm pretty sure the wall was, and open my eyes again. And yeah, maybe you'll get a sense as that plays out. Oh, I've hit something.
I'm in kind of a silly mood, so I'm going to add another little wrinkle to this.
Go for it, because I feel like I've been going down to very sort of serious gameplay mechanic moods. Do it.
So all these eldritch horrors are happening while you're on a date with a young lady, or man, depending on who you want to go with.
Yep.
And they don't know anything about these eldritch horrors that are going on. You, for some reason, can see it, and so you're having to deal with going off to the bathroom and dealing with eldritch horrors and coming back and spending action points on
conversation and okay, that's kind of fun. It's like the waiter comes over and you realize that they're serving with a tentacle and you lose like 2 sanity points. And
but you'd lose more if she found out. So it's all about following the waiter back to the back to the kitchen.
Without looking in his eyes. If he turns around, you immediately have to close your eyes.
But I don't know. I think it would add like a little bit of fun, a little bit of zaniness to what is otherwise, a rather horrific,
dark and gloomy and horrific situation. No, I like that. It's interesting trying to bring that like tactic stuff into it and the closing your eyes thing, but I think that can still work.
Yeah.
I feel like it's less combat based then and more.
You're looking lovingly into her eyes, and then all of a sudden, out of the corner of your eye, you see a tentacle sort of coming out, and you've got to close your eyes. But now she's a bit suspicious because you're closing your eyes, but while looking into her eyes, and she's now wondering. Yeah,
well, that's it, because you've also got sort of the trust level of your date.
Yeah,
you don't want that to get too low either, or You've ruined this whole situation.
And you could go through a whole heap of different things. Like, you could actually have this whole thing of, you're courting and then you're going out with friends for dinner, and then you're getting married and it's at your wedding.
It's at your wedding and you're trying to avoid the fucking
elder
children of Cthulhu.
And then, it's at the birth of your child, and then you're dealing with...
I don't know how this person stayed sane this long, knowing that apparently throughout their whole life, there's just these dark beasts lurking around every corner.
But then you actually find out that, they were never actually there. It was all in his mind.
It was just literally the very first turn you forgot to close your eyes and went completely insane. Imagine the whole rest of the whole game. All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Deal demonstration.
40 carriage.
Okay. Carriage made me think of Cinderella for some reason.
Okay.
I guess like the pumpkin carriage or something.
Mm-hmm.
So is this like a take on Cinderella?
Yeah. I think it's a take on Cinderella. I kind of like the idea that 40, is actually one of those 40-ounce, liquors.
Well, or where I was going is maybe this is Cinderella, but instead of trying to get to the ball, she's trying to get onto Shark Tank, and $40 million is what she wants.
Mm. Okay.
For the product she's demonstrating.
Okay. What's the product? Has she taught mice to pull carriages?
She's got a new microchip that is embedded in the skulls of these animals that makes them behave like humans, and she's trying to sell it to Elon Musk.
Yep.
She's like, I know you put one in a pig, but mine works in mice, birds... fairy godmothers. They'll eat at your bidding.
And she brings in a pig with like wings taped to the back.
This is my fairy godmother.
Okay, where are the gameplay elements? Come on, you've got the narrative there.
So, I mean, the classic Cinderella story is, she's left at home. The evil stepmother is making her clean up instead of
evil step scientist.
This event. So yes, so she's got her scientist, which is her mentor, and there's the evil step scientist who has been brought onto this project against her will.
And the
she's a PhD
evil stepsisters are actually like other interns that are there with her, and they're other grad students.
Yeah. They're all grad students, and so she's been working with the lead scientist on this for years. They've finally got this technology to a place where it might go to market. But they've restructured the university.
The lead scientist has recently got tenure and now doesn't give a shit about this anymore. And
so they brought on the step scientist, and the step scientist came with these grad students who sort of aligned with them.
Yeah.
So you're stuck cleaning the lab while they are on their way to give the presentation at Shark Tank.
Okay.
With
what are you
Elon
cleaning
Musk
it with?
guest starring.
What are you cleaning it with? I'm picturing a massive hose and just blasting like the entire lab.
Yeah, so this is like mini game?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm you know what? I think this is a narrative VR adventure of sorts.
Cool.
So yes, like at the beginning, you are stuck in the lab. You get the introduction to all this stuff, and there are maybe some like basic dialogue trees and stuff that probably don't change the gameplay too much. But they go, it's like, okay, shit, I got to clean this lab because shit's gonna like catch on fire if I don't, because there's dangerous chemicals and like Tesla fucking coils and Jacob's ladders going off and Bunsen burners and things. So it becomes you've got like the first sort of set piece is this wacky, you've got high pressure hose, you've got, I don't know, scrubbing brushes and different things, and it's sort of a viscera cleanup detail style. Make sure everything's safe and clean. And then who is the fairy godmother? I mean, I know we sort of established it was the pig.
It's a talking pig. With wings.
Okay, with the chip.
Yeah.
Okay, the chip is basically given it intelligence. So, yeah, you get through all this, you sit down, you're exhausted, you're like, I've had my life's work taken away from me, and Fairy Pig Mother is in the cage and goes like, there, it's okay, we'll get you through this.
Now, does it say it, or is it like, does it text it to you?
No, I think it's like text to speech style.
Oh yeah, so it's a very Stephen Hawking's voice.
Yeah. We can maybe add a little bit more personality than that. I'm thinking almost a bit of like Doug from Up, like the dogs.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's got a bit of personality to it, but you can tell it's generated from the pig's thoughts. And so you do some basic kind of adventuring to find the key, find the code to like unlock the
cage where
the cage
is,
is locked, as well as the rest of the animals who you then have to do some like fake program, like scripting programming stuff, like you log into the terminal and like maybe you're like hooking things together or something to basically give them instructions to form a carriage that they can carry you to. It's like 1,000 mice, and they will all hold onto each other and create a vehicle for you, which the monkey will steer and drive. And so you take off your lab coat and you put on your formal lab coat and you get into the mouse vehicle.
I'm just now picturing like this diamond encrusted like.
It's got like the lapel thing and cummerbund. And you're off to Shark Tank. And then you've got a driving mini game. Where I guess you're playing the monkey, since I said that was who was driving. Or maybe something happens and the monkey is smart enough that they find the chip and take it out, so you have to take over the driving. Get to Shark Tank.
For some reason, I've just got this idea that the monkey is also has like a side gig of like delivering things like Uber Eats. So he's the one to pull over and pick up food.
So you have to to get to Shark Tank, you have to do a Crazy Taxi-esque, section of making sure the monkey can deliver its Uber Eats and get 5 stars.
Well, so what you actually do is you have to make lots of orders of food along the way
to get to the right place. But like each restaurant has its like limited delivery zone, so you kind of have to pop from delivery zone to delivery zone. It's like, oh, I'm gonna order pizza to 4 kilometers down the road in the direction I need to go, and finally you get to
all
order
of a sudden it goes from the other Pizza Hut because that delivery area is a little bit unusual.
Yeah, it's like, ah, shit, I didn't get the job. And then finally you deliver sushi to Shark Tank and arrive.
And Elon Musk eats it, and because you didn't do that, you didn't stop him from eating it, and it unfortunately was spoiled, and therefore you don't get your money, and that's where you got to restart the whole game all over because it's a Sierra adventure game where you make a single mistake, you're fucked.
No, it's all right. He'll die. His money will go to his child, whose name I will not attempt to pronounce, because this is set, 23 years in the future, and you just have to make the deal with them.
Okay, so what happened to the evil step scientist?
No, so you get to Shark Tank, and I think you essentially have to. Then you've got a stealth section.
Ooh, a VR stealth section. That's
VR stealth section. And
after having a half-hour VR minigame with like a single phone, and you're like making orders.
No, you're driving as well. You do end up having to do the driving.
You're driving and helping the monkey with his side hustle while you're also ordering.
Well, either you're driving or you're like throwing the food out the window. It's like Paperboy / Crazy Taxi in VR. So then you move on to the stealth section where you essentially have to take out the step scientist and the two grad students.
And that's really evil. What the spoiled sushi was for, is to give it to them.
Yes, you like use it to like distract and tempt them, and then they eat. Yep. And you
only know that because if you actually went into the meeting right at the very start, you actually saw just in the trash a whole heap of sushi containers that were empty. But that's the only that's the only time that you would have found out that they like sushi.
That's the only hint. Yeah,
because again, it's Sierra.
Yeah. No, we don't want to lead people by the nose. And so then you meet back up with the lead scientists, because they're there too. Like, they still had to be part of it, even though they don't give a shit anymore. And you have a little dialogue tree, convince them that, this is really important. You get them all excited for it again. And then it's you and them presenting, and you've got a mini game where you have to, like, I don't know, hit the next slide button at the right time.
and if you get it's sort of all timed to the speech. So the speech is going on, and you get to a certain point, and if the lead scientist has to say next slide, then
it means you'll lose $5 million from your eventual deal.
He glares at you, and he goes, "I didn't need."
Or if you go too fast, it's like that. And that PowerPoint animation wasn't supposed to go yet. I wasn't ready to say the third dot point, but it like wiggled its way onto the screen.
Because again, at the start when you were setting up all the timings, you were doing it to someone else's timings, not to the lead scientist's timing. So you got to.
Well, no, I think the challenge is you're going into this blind, essentially. Like, this is not your presentation, and so you're having to guess at the right time to hit the next button and how many animations there are going to be. It's like, okay, I hit it once, and like a photo of a pigeon, being dissected, and it's a chip implanted is coming on. If I hit it again, is it going to go to the text, or is it going to like animate clip art coming onto the screen as well? And if I go too far, I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to lose points. So yeah, it all comes down to how well you sync up that final presentation. And then you live happily ever after.
If you go too slow, then on comes Clippy saying, "I see that you're doing a presentation. Would you like some help with that?"
I see you're trying to raise $40 million. Yeah, that's it. I mean, done deal.
I think that's a good hour-long experience in VR.
Exactly, like that's a perfect sort of 1 or 2 session long VR experience Sell it for a solid 20 or 30 bucks.
Knowing that Steam's going to take 30% of that, maybe you want to jack it up a bit so you get a little bit of extra money.
True. We'll wait for Epic to finally fucking support VR stuff and make it exclusive. Piss off some fucking game bros. All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Attempted rolling.
Sticking lamp.
Sticking lamp?
Yes.
Sticking lamp. Okay.
I love lamp.
Lamp loves you.
Okay. I'm coming up with this idea of like, I don't know. You said rolling, so I'm seeing almost some barrels, but I'm seeing that the barrels have like a sidekick, and that is a lamp.
Okay.
So I'm seeing this as almost like one of those Banjo-Kazooie sort of things of an anthropomorphic barrel and his buddy a lamp that just sort of sticks to the wall.
Okay. That is an interesting pairing.
Yes.
I can't say they usually go together. I think what's really important is what is the barrel filled with?
Scotch whiskey.
Okay. So the barrel's kind of a like drunk stereotype.
Yeah,
hiccuping.
And I'm thinking that
the lamp's kind of the straight man.
You know, yeah, definitely. Lamp is like,
lamp is life.
Lamp is the smart one. You know, as soon as he comes up with an idea, it's ding.
Yep. Light comes on.
So you know, Lamp is awesome for coming up with ideas, and Barrel just. He's so drunk that he'll just do anything that Lamp says. It's kind of picky in the brain, but Barrel,
yeah, okay. So, Barrel, what are we going to do tonight?
Same thing we do every night. Take over the world.
Same thing we do every night. Roll down a hill.
Okay, so I think Barrel has like a young whiskey in it.
Okay.
Because, you know, Barrel's supposed to be there for a long time. You know, it's supposed to be 18-year-old whiskey.
Yeah.
But he's only made it to, like, 10.
3. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's still got.
So it's drinkable.
It's drinkable, but
you could sell it for, you know, but it's not, like, top tier.
Yeah, definitely not.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, so I'm kind of feeling here that, like...
It makes me wonder about... You know, how does anyone actually break into the whiskey game now, given that if you want to sell a good whiskey, you've got to set up your company 18 years before you want to sell the good whiskey?
Time travel. It's obviously time travel.
It has to be.
In fact, I'm pretty sure we did a game where we were like firing barrels of time travel into the past or something. Barrels of time travel. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
So you got a barrel of liquid time travel.
Yes.
And Lamp has this great idea that he's worked out that whiskey that hasn't quite hit, you know, the 18 years yet, because whiskey companies would actually go bankrupt if they had to wait 18 years. So they use a special time travel whiskey mixture that they then have to filter out at the end.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
But this barrel's escaped.
Yes.
And it's still...
got the time travel mixture in it.
Got the time travel mixture in it, and they're going to the authorities.
Yes.
This is a, like, whistleblowing expedition that Lamp has masterminded.
Mm-hmm. Now, why is Lamp anthropomorphic and why is Barrel anthropomorphic?
They're not. In that they don't have arms, legs, eyes, or mouths. They just... Lamp moves kind of like Luxo Jr. from Pixar.
Oh, fuck.
And Barrel just has to, like, tilt and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And Lamp does have a suction cup. So, like, if you need to get down a long hill... Lamp suctions onto the, you know, the top, Barrel rolls to the side, you roll down the hill and you get this lovely dynamically lit, you know, roll as the light spins and rotates with the barrel.
If you crash, a little bit of time travel liquid like seeps out, and you see like flowers just bloom and die in like.
Oh, that'd be a cool effect. That'd be a cool effect.
Yeah. Or you hit a weed and it just goes everywhere, like just expands and expands and expands and like blooms, expands, blooms, expands.
You hit a fucking rabbit, just decays into dust, goes through its whole life cycle as its children wail in horror.
You hit a baby bunny and the parents just have to watch it grow old and die in mere minutes in front of its eyes.
No, you only hit it with a little amount, so they just have to watch it become a belligerent teenager and then go off and smoke drugs. And they just get to be immediately disappointed and miss its entire childhood. Because that's worse. That's worse. So is there a time limit on this then, in that you still need to make this whiskey eventually sellable? So you can't let it get too old? Or is it just the older the better?
I think it's the older the better. I mean, this company's really experimenting with the time travel liquid. And this particular one, the reason why the barrel can actually kind of move is because it turns out that in so many years, maybe it's not 10 years, maybe it's like they've put so much time travel liquid into this that it's actually millions of years now.
This is their oldest barrel.
Yeah.
And all the time travel liquid, it's actually, so funnily enough, you find this out at the end, the barrel itself is not living. There's a thin veneer of bacteria on the inside, which has evolved to the point where as a hive mind, it is incredibly intelligent and can move this barrel just by coordinating.
And the lamp is literally just Luxo Jr. At least that's what it becomes.
The lamp was another experiment that
or is it Luxo Senior and he has a little baby and that becomes Luxo Junior?
Yeah, it's a tie-in to Pixar. Luxo Senior, funnily enough, was really into just poking out people's eyes, whereas Luxo Junior just likes to jump on the letter I. That's sort of the way that got passed off.
There's like a side story of the barrel keeps on asking Lamp what happened to all those people, where are their eyes, and Luxo Junior goes and just jumps on,
just burns them out. That's the Lamp can like can fuck, what's the word? Anyway, this isn't the lamp can like focus is the word I was trying to think of. The lamp can focus its light down into an eye-searing laser. Focus. And so then obviously you get to the end and you whistle blow and the company goes out of business, and then you discover the opposite time travel liquid, jump through a time hole and go back and actually start the company in a paradoxical event and make lots of money.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice,
3, 2, 1, click.
Nice.
Breathed Week. WEEK.
Ooh. Rural Handbook.
Oh. Okay. So I feel like this is maybe a week in the life of a rural town.
Yeah.
Where something has probably happened.
Okay.
Otherwise,
so
it might be fairly boring.
Is it a sort of... if you remember the M. Night Shyamalan film, The Village.
M. Night Pygmalion?
Yeah. Where, it was a rural sort of place. It was... it felt like it was back in the 1800s sort of thing. But
yeah.
Spoilers. It turns out that it's not. But I like the idea of like this older style sort of community that is surrounded by other technology, but they've chosen to stick with the old ways. It's not necessarily Amish. Like there's some minor technology.
Yeah, look, there are a lot of different levels of I say non-critically, like Ludditism, I guess, where in shunning technology or choosing to limit technology.
Yeah.
So this, I think we make up a community who has decided, what
there's
their
a
rules
handbook
are.
that says, okay, so you can have like CRT televisions, you can have like any analog electronics, but the second that
community, it's a community where they've set the cutoff at like 1978. So you can have like
you just can't have
record players.
You can't have anything
tracks.
that isn't like Valve sort of driven.
It's like no silicon. Yeah, it's like no microchips. So they're like farming and using this huge like ENIAC computer to like manage the farm. It's like takes up an entire barn.
Now I'm picturing that instead of using like microchips and all this sort of stuff, they've built computers out of like actual transistors, and they've got like 1 billion transistors in this field.
What is their like reasoning behind this decision? Is this just a cult? Like, is there a cult
They
leader
don't trust things that they can't see, and surface-mounted devices they can't see and they can't understand. But if they can see, oh, this is a resistor, this is a transistor, I can see that. I can physically see what it's doing, and, I can trace it back. It's just the whole idea about, these nanometer processors that just doesn't make sense.
I think what happened is...
So they want millimeter processors.
I think what happened is this cult leader decided that when Van Halen's self-titled debut studio album came out in 1978, that was the peak of all civilization, and shunned everything coming from after that.
Yeah. Hasn't even seen Empire Strikes Back. Has only seen Star Wars.
Has only seen Star Wars. Loves it. Actually, there's a whole thing, and anybody who brings spoilers or like who brings information from the later Star Wars films into this community is essentially executed. Yeah. Or maybe, exiled. If they just talk about Return of the Jedi, exiled. If they talk about Empire Strikes Back,
basically, if they talk about how Luke kisses Leia, who happens to also be his sister, then, they're exiled because they shouldn't know that, because in Star Wars it was just an adventure story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So...
Raiders of the Lost Ark, fuck no, you can't be talking about that shit. Harrison Ford has always been Han Solo, and...
That's all he is. He's... Hang on.
I don't know why you thought 1978, but this is awesome.
Yeah. So he's Han Solo, and he's only Han Solo and Bob Falfa and American Graffiti, also done by George Lucas. That's the only main roles he's ever done.
Okay, so it's a week long adventure in this particular rural area.
Do you play a newcomer then?
Yes,
to this
I think you've got family in the area, and your parents have basically sent you away to this community to learn some.
Okay, maybe they grew up, because it's set in modern day. It's set 2020.
2020.
Well, it's set 2019, so we don't have to deal with fucking 2020.
It's an alternate 2020 in which COVID never happened.
Yeah, nor Trump, because I just don't want to fuck with that. Yes, and so I think your parents grew up in this commune,
yes,
essentially, but left because they heard news of the Back to the Future movies, and it sort of leaked in, and they were like, we got to get out for this third one. It's going to be amazing.
Yep.
So they left.
Plus, they also heard about Ghostbusters, and they really like the idea of like the team behind Stripes.
Yeah, like, I mean, are you kidding? We can't stay here and prevent ourselves from experiencing that. Bill Murray has not hit his peak yet.
Oh my god! This first season of this show called SNL is just amazing. I mean, imagine if they created some movies on the way.
Have you got the wiki page for 1978 up?
No. I'm just really bummed that Ghostbusters Afterlife didn't come out this year.
Bro. Yeah, so you enter this commune, and I think like there are people can leave, people can go out on visitor passes.
Oh yeah,
as long as they come back and shun the modern trappings of fluoro leg bands and scrunchies and and onwards. I love the idea that this cult leader or all the people in this commune still think that the peak of things that they're not allowed to see are stuff from the 80s. Like, that's what they've heard whispers of.
And I love that by the end of this week, you've talked them into going up to 1983.
you brought them for... Well, I think I wonder if, like, the first day you're there, the cult leader dies.
Ooh.
And so it is sort of this journey of how you manage to kind of influence the rest of the people in the commune.
Over the next 5 days, you need to bring them forward 5 years. So each day is like bringing in references from 1979, 1980.
Well, no, maybe you do it even more than that. And it's like approximately a decade every time. Obviously, I know that would be. I know that would be further. That would take you further into the future. So it's not a full decade each time, maybe. But as you go on, you start slipping in.
You end up at the end of like
it's
day
like,
5.
Here's a copy.
Like, oh my god!
Here's a copy
like
of
Minority Report
Reeves.
Sort of level stuff.
Here's a copy of Christopher Reeves in Superman, like that you put under someone's pillow, which I know was 1981 because my parents saw it. Or showing the day I was born.
Which one's that? Superman.
The first one.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure.
No, Superman 2 was 1980, so...
Oh, I'm sure there was a Superman.
1978 Superman was, so they know about Superman 1, they just don't know about Superman 2.
Yes, it may have been Superman 2 that was showing here in the cinemas on my birthday.
At least it wasn't Superman 3, which was the year later.
It's the Richard Pryor one?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a horrible film.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you get to the end of the week and a whole heap of people just get really disappointed because they accidentally see A Quest for Peace.
Yeah. They actually just like... They go to the other commune down the road that's like doesn't go further than 1953. They're like, fuck this.
Yeah, but they're almost at the point that they can see Batman. Things start turning around again.
Rather than try to remember the endless references from our childhood, I think we'll click again. But that's the general idea. I think that could be fun.
We'll go one more.
Chosen graduation.
Appreciated clash.
They probably did appreciate the clash in that last game. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so chosen graduation immediately takes me to
Buffy?
third season of Buffy.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely going with a Buffy style, high school chosen one situation.
Yep.
I don't think we go full Buffy necessarily.
No. We didn't get
come
the
up with our own
license
thing.
Joss Whedon's very picky with who he lets have the
Yeah,
license.
and in fact, we've been sued over Scruffy Winters, so we can't go down that route either. We really have to differentiate ourselves this time. Yeah. And then what were your words?
Appreciated and clash.
Clash. Okay. Maybe we will take Clash in that like punk way, and the character that you're playing is kind of a punk rock musician of sorts. Like it's more that kind of the other side of the chirpy cheerleader chosen one coin is the deadbeat sort of punk rocker who.
Oh yeah, I do like that.
Essentially
every generation, a deadbeat is chosen as the chosen one.
Yeah, basically. So, what are you chosen to do?
Okay, so I think this is one of those sort of. I don't think it's a Buffy like someone's chosen as the only thing, the only person in all of existence who.
I think this is more like the hero's call kind of situation, hero's journey, call to greatness.
Okay, so unlike Buffy, where it's there's one in existence for some unknown reason, there's one in each general area.
You have been chosen for the Shire of Fluxenberg.
Okay.
As the chosen protector.
But I think you can take Clash in two ways, in the fact that you weren't actually born in this area. And so you were actually a chosen one from another jurisdiction, but your parents moved you to this one, and so that there's two chosen ones in this.
Well, look, I mean, okay. If we're going to go bureaucratic with it, we need to lean into that.
Yeah.
So, have you been chosen as the, note taker, or the official countsman of postcode 2641, and you will keep track of all statistics in the area? Like, what are you doing?
Okay, so this is related to a game that we did earlier in the evening.
Okay.
In which there's chaotic beings all over the world, and all you're doing is you're keeping count of them. You're just counting how many are in the general area.
So you're a monster census taker, effectively.
Yes. All you do is take censuses. You kind of take photos, and then you kind of pick what's wrong in this photo.
Okay, that's kind of fun. That's kind of fun, actually. A punky kind of kid. They're into photography, and you're having to go around your school taking photos, but you get given a special film or something that exposes things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to see.
Yeah. But if you show it to someone else who doesn't
random
have these,
models,
who isn't chosen, they just see a normal photo. So it's
maybe I don't know. I kind of like the idea that it does get exposed, it's more in the film.
You show it to your high school science teacher, and he goes crazy, and then goes on a date with his wife, with his potential girlfriend.
No, I'm thinking this is less like sanity destroying eldritch horrors, and more traditional kind of. Either we go creatures, in a sort of Buffy-esque style, or we go aliens or something, like a Men in Black-ish sort of situation, where this is a bit more or like a Body Snatchers sort of thing, but they're living peacefully. So there's sort of there's this maybe
the off-brand
cold
people in Mauve or Mauve.
I don't know what that is.
I'm just saying off-brand instead of Men in Black. It's like people dressed in.
Gotcha. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
there we go. Even better. People in purple. So is this like a people in purple situation rather than men in black?
Agents in Azure.
It's like the GoBots versus Transformers. Was the Kmart brand?
Basically, yes. But again, it's very bureaucratic. All they do is take note,
yes,
and watch. Or maybe you're just part of the department where that's what you do. That's what you are chosen to do. You do get this very like over the top, ritual as you get kind of taken out of find a secret thing and follow the path, and someone intercepts you and says you're the chosen one for Area 2471, and you have been given the great task of cataloguing all body snatchers and alien beings in the area. Here is your special film and your Polaroid camera.
I like the idea that it's sort of like a narrative sort of game as well. Like, as you're taking photos, occasionally, like, depending on where you've taken a photo, you actually see, like, a slime trail or something like that, and you can sort of follow it along, and you're trying to suss out who in the school is actually an alien being, and you can only, like, for certain aliens, you can only pick them up when they're eating or something like that.
Right, because they've just got, like, a huge forked tongue or something that...
Yeah.
So,
other than that, if they're just talking, that sort of stuff, you can't quite see it, because they've got one talk.
Well, I kind of like the idea...
One tongue for talking, one tongue for like, licking.
And one tongue for something else. I kind of like the idea that, that you... it's a relatively small school, so you do start to pick up on who might be suspicious, or who might be an alien or a body snatched person.
And who doesn't want their photo taken. Like,
well, then that's it. So then you start getting suspicious. So you actually have to, if you get noticed, obviously taking photos of people, then suspicion can grow, and it might just, cut off a narrative section that you could have, like, side quest thing that you could have followed, or it might lower your, might make it harder then in future to identify them in some way, or even, like, be the catalyst for a confrontation with that person. Mm-hmm. So narratively, it can take it in different directions. But yeah, like, the suspicion meter grows. So, like, if you don't have something else that maybe you should have been taking a photo of, and they see you taking a photo of them, so if they're next to, like, the trophy case, then you can use that opportunity to get a good photo of them, and you've got plausible deniability of, I was just taking photos of the trophy case. But if they're just in the middle of the hall or in a lunchroom or something, it's like, the suspicion meter will go way up if you can't justify it.
Yeah. And again, all you're doing is you're taking note of and counting how many you actually have in the school, and you're passing it on to the people in purple, and you see every now and again the people in purple turn up, and they sort of,
I think you give them a report at the end of every day or something. You give them a report. I'm now feeling a bit of, like, Return of the Obra Dinn, where you do have this report at the end of the day, and you tick off all these people as either yes, unsure, or no. And yeah, if you tick them as yes, there's the possibility that they'll just
disappear,
get removed at some point. And I don't know when it tells you whether you're wrong, and we'd obviously have to be careful sort of from a narrative point of view. I don't know if we have interweaving narratives, or if it's more of a narrative per person that can sort of go on or not or something. But that could be fun, that you're essentially marking these people for removal. And like Obra Dinn, you have an achievement if on the first day you just say, yep, all of them. The next day you show up to school, no one's there. I really like that. That's some fun stuff. I like the idea of bringing in some, like, Scooby Gang from Buffy kind of stuff as well, where you get, like, a sidekick or two who maybe find out or are helping you, or I don't know, like,
they're doing some Google research on. Well, this teacher came from this school. Like, they've actually got a history. This one, this is his first job. Like,
I can't find a record of him anywhere.
Yeah, But it turns out that guy was actually in witness protection, and you've just alerted like the mob to his location.
This is a cool mix. This is a cool mix of like both the sort of Return of the Obra Dinn and Paper Please-esque stuff, Pokemon Snap, and and a sort of just a general adventure and like Life is Strange or something. Yeah, or Bully. Yeah.
You still got to go to class.
Yeah, you still got your schedule. Otherwise, you'll be suspicious.
Yeah.
You do get some passes for being like part of the school newspaper, and you get to sort of go around and say you're working on a story.
But I kind of like the idea that if you don't do it quickly, you're just going to class every day. Like the days sort of go past in sort of increments and that sort of stuff, and you start getting used to the routines that people have, so you expect them to turn up to lunch.
Yeah, I think you don't give a time pressure on it. You give them the opportunity, to learn the routines, so they could say, okay, I'm going to find out for sure if, this group, this little clique, who out of them is a thing. And so so day after day, you follow them, you take photos, you can note down their schedules, what classes they have on what days, and then you might, then you can find, okay, I've definitely ruled out this person. Like, there's nothing suspicious there. Mm-hmm. This person I'm still a bit unsure about. Like, maybe you spend a couple of days following them more specifically. And then this person I definitely saw, licking up the cigarette butts and spitting tar out of their blowhole. Which is like something their species does. So, like, mark them as a yes.
And then I
like the idea that you have to identify the species and stuff.
You go to like a website and it sort of says it's almost like a Google MD in which it asks a whole heap of questions.
Yeah,
and when
you've got like dark web. Actually, it is the mauve web. For the people in purple, where you get all the alien research. But actually, I think what you said there, like, they're not dangerous. I don't think any of these people are dangerous. They're just trying to live their lives and go to school. They're effectively immigrants, so you can really actually bring in a whole, like, kind of other people in purple fascist and, like, trying to remove, people who are perfectly entitled to be here, and maybe there's you can make choices around not marking anyone anymore or something, and taking risks there. So that could be some fun narrative stuff too.
Yep,
I love it.
I think that'll do it.
Yeah. On that note, we shall finish up. So thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us online, find the rest of our episodes, go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm. You can find it all there. Go back and listen to our backlog. Leave us some reviews. Definitely check out last week's episode with Alex Krause of Know What You're In For, a great long-form improv comedy podcast that, as we said, we were also recently on.
So check out the episode of Know What You're In For with disgraced prison warden Anthony B. Watts that we were in. I played the character Trent. Ben played the character Vic.
It was a lot of fun.
We laughed a lot.
We did. We're also part of the 8-Bit Collective. This is a group of podcasts around pop culture, video games, sports, role-playing, all sorts of cool stuff going on there. Go to 8bit.net. Check out all of the great shows.
Yep, and we'd also like it if you could check out the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook or at AGP Network on Twitter for all your Australasian gaming podcast needs, like Bitstorm or The Inconsolables or Locked On Lads and many others. And finally, we'd like to thank Kuradust for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
Yes, indeedy. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I'm getting out of here because I want to see Ghostbusters.